The following is a presentation of the Chicago Bears Network and ChicagoBears.com. Download the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon, for up-to-the-minute Bears content every day. And now, welcome to Bears All Access, your all-access pass into Chicago Bears football. Bears All Access is brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Connie's Pizza, Athletico Physical Therapy, and CDW.
Thursday evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition, our postseason edition of Bears All Access. Jeff Joniak along with Tom Thayer from News Radio 105.9 WBBM, and our producers Jordan Tredup, Dan Barilli, and in the Score Studios, Tyler Farringall. Good evening, Tom. A new chapter in the history of this great franchise about to develop here with the Bears naming Kevin Warren president and CEO, only the fifth person to serve in this capacity in this franchise's history, and succeeding Ted Phillips, who's been in this role since February of 1999, retiring next month. First of all, good evening once again. And this was something of a rumor mill, a name that we had heard here for a while now, and it came to fruition today.
Well, you know, one thing, congratulations to Ted and everything he's been able to accomplish throughout his time with the Bears and the way he worked himself up, and then, you know, he's exiting on a high note. I know I'm not talking about the season. I'm talking the state of the franchise, the state of the organization, what they have to look forward to. The excitement of a guy like Justin Fields and the anticipation of the possibility of a new stadium in Arlington Heights. So everything in between. And, you know, did you say this is a postseason version of Bears All Access?
Well, you know, after our season. Yeah.
Right. It's really, you know, for everything that's happened in the last 4 or 5 days, Jeff, it's already a new season. You know,
yeah,
you talk
true.
about the exit interviews with Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles. You think about the number one draft choice. You think about the announcement of Kevin Warren being brought aboard. There are so many new adventures that's going to take place starting right now that, you know, it's not necessarily the postseason. It is a new season.
Yeah, and coming up, we'll be joined by former Bears quarterback Jim Miller, who rejoins us now each week during the offseason here. And at 6:30, we'll be joined by Bolingbrook native Anthony Herron from Big Ten Network, and also the Bears on Fox 32, The Score, Big Ten Network on Sirius XM. He has a lot of responsibilities. We love him, and we'll be looking forward to talk to him as well. Warren leaving the Big Ten after the last 3 years, Tom, as commissioner. No matter who you talk to, they say the same things about him: professional, classy, smart, acutely introspectively, a business person who knows at different levels and in different capacities, a leader. And so many great things to hear about him. General Manager Ryan Poles was part of that interview process in some fashion, and said today in a statement, Kevin is going to be a tremendous resource. I'm excited to get started with him. Said in my time spent with him during the interview process, it quickly became apparent his resume and business acumen will be a powerful asset to helping improve our organization and ultimately reach our goal to be a championship organization. So many, we'll get to George's comments as well, George McCaskey, chairman of the board, and more. But overall, we have done some homework also with mutual friends that know Kevin Warren, have worked with Kevin Warren, and it's all very, very positive.
Right, and I think that's the most encouraging thing about it, as, you know, me being a Bear alumni and a season ticket holder and a lifelong fan, to hear about, you know, all the credits that Kevin has, that he's already ventured through, he's already built through. He's been a part of the building of new stadiums, organizations in the NFL, and the college, and he's, you know, left his footprint in the college landscape that has taken a conference that used to be known as the Big Ten. Now it has teams all around the country. And when I was a high school kid and I was investigating college opportunities, I was really, you know, had my heart set in investigating a lot of the Big Ten teams. But now it's an entirely different process, conference, and I think the people of the Big Ten got to be really happy how Kevin has left this conference in his new adventure to the Bears.
And 21 years as an executive in the NFL, prominently with the Minnesota Vikings, helping get that new stadium, which we think is one of the premier facilities in this country.
Yep.
We love that stadium, U.S. Bank Stadium, but also with the Rams winning a Super Bowl there. very close with Dick Vermeil, the head coach there. Also with the Detroit Lions, a law background that helped the Vikings group become owners of the Minnesota Vikings. So there's so many levels and layers to his background.
Right, but that's why they went out and investigated a guy that has experience in all of those levels. And you think about the experience he has on a professional level, that is, kind of sets the tone enough. But then you talk about the role and the importance of the college game and how they factor in NFL organizations nowadays, whether it's coaches, players, or just the business side of it. Kevin certainly has built an important resume from at this early stage in his career. And like I said, as a Bears fan, I'm rooting all the way for him to come here, take this team, and let's all enjoy a division-winning team that gets a chance to get deep into the playoffs.
All right, so this is from George McCaskey earlier today. Kevin, a man of integrity, respect, and excellence, all of which are critical core values of the Chicago Bears, and we welcome his perspective and diverse thought to lead this storied organization. He is a proven leader who has many times stepped outside of his comfort zone to challenge status quo for unconventional growth and prosperity. In this role, Warren will serve in the primary leadership position of the franchise to help bring the next Super Bowl championship trophy home to Bears fans. He will oversee general manager and the business operations of the club, and just a great day for the Chicago Bears moving forward. We'll break it all down with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Joining us next, our friend Jim Miller, the former Chicago Bears quarterback from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. Bottom of the hour, Anthony Herron. We are Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score, brought to you by IGS Energy. Back in a few.
Want to make a world of difference without leaving your street? The answer is right above your head. We're IGS Energy. We offer solar solutions that make a world of difference. That's why you see solar systems popping up around your community. It's easy to switch. Now you can choose your energy source, manage your impact, and protect the systems that keep your home comfortable. Choose IGS Energy, and let's go green for good. Visit IGS.com to learn more.
Traveling to an away game to watch the Bears win big? Get ready to celebrate. Celebrated a little too much? Time to sleep in. Slept in and gonna miss that flight home? Time to change your flight without paying change fees thanks to United. So, when will you worry about getting back? Tomorrow? Maybe? United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears. Does not include basic economy unless a United waiver applies. Exceptions apply for certain international flights.
Calling all Bears fans. Get the ultimate VIP fan package at Soldier Field this season with Chicago Bears VIP. Secure a game ticket, pre-game hospitality, appearances from Bears legends, and more all in one place. Make the most of your game day experience at Soldier Field this season. Get your VIP fan package by visiting ChicagoBearsVIP.com today.
It's game time, but before Terry can enjoy his brat, he's got one last thing to digest, an impending work deadline. Luckily, CDW helps Terry and his team make big plays from anywhere, even the tailgate, by pre-configuring Lenovo ThinkPads with the Intel Evo platform. With business-class performance and effortless connectivity, Terry tosses over the files, and she's got them. Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. CDW, official technology solutions advisor of the Chicago Bears.
Football is back, and so is your chance to win with BetRivers Sportsbook app. Featuring our new multi-game same-game parlay. Combine the action of multiple same-game parlays in one bet for more action and bigger payouts. Bet the spread, bet the over, bet player props, and more. Throw in daily odds boost plus award-winning customer service, and it's a touchdown. Download it today.
Must be 21 plus. Available in Illinois only. Void where prohibited. Terms and conditions apply. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back to Bears All Access. We're brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an appointment in clinic or virtually and start feeling better tomorrow with Tom Thayer. Jeff Joniak, good Thursday evening to you. We welcome in Jim Miller, the former Chicago Bears quarterback and member of Moving the Chains on SiriusXM NFL Radio, along with Pat Kerwin. Jim, good to have you back with us. How you feeling and what's going on, buddy?
I'm doing great. Tom, Jeff, good to be back with you guys. I'm excited for Super Wild Card weekend this weekend, and I'm excited for the Bears. There's a lot going on, a lot of exciting things that are unfolding. And, with the number 1 pick overall in the draft, and today a new president and CEO, so a lot of moving parts here this offseason for the Chicago Bears.
You get a big league perspective being on SiriusXM NFL Radio. What's the reaction today about Kevin Warren?
Well, I think it's a solid pick. This guy comes with over 20 years of experience, in executive roles in front offices, whether it's the Lions, whether it's the Rams, Minnesota. We know the accomplishments there, what he's done in the Big Ten with how that expanded and got bigger. So, big projects are no problem for this guy, right? He's really been through them all with the building of a stadium up there in Minnesota and how the Big Ten has expanded. So I think you've got a big thinker who can think outside the box and get things done with everywhere he's been. And, he's been a part of world championship teams as well. So I think he understands this business and what the Bears are trying to accomplish.
Hey, Jim, when you look at the teams in the NFL that are looking for new head coaches, do you think that they got to get settled on the new head coaches before the Bears can start thinking about how they'll be able to bargain this first pick in the draft?
Yeah, I think it's not just the coaches. It's for new GMs of teams. Here you got Houston picking second in the draft. Is Nick Caserio even going to be there? Is he going to want to trade up? Because teams below Houston, you got the Colts sitting there below him. The Raiders are there. There's teams that are in striking distance that should want to get up to 1. But it's going to be how the team is structured, in my opinion. Typically, we've seen teams like Andy Reid or Bill Belichick or Pete Carroll that are kind of in control of everything. Yes, John Schneider, works exclusively with Pete Carroll to get those decisions made. But other teams, it's strictly the general manager. And so some of that is unsettled right now, and Houston really is a big example of that, because even the owner came out and said that, and even Nick Caserio came out and said that, hey, I may not even be here. The next head coach needs to determine if he can work with a guy like me as the general manager. So I think there's a lot of moving parts, but how it's structured, some are GM coach structured where they work together, and ultimately the general manager will make the picks depending on really what is the most beneficial for the coach and what he's trying to accomplish.
I'm not sure how much you got to see of Ryan Poles' exit interview, but, his conversation about how he feels about Justin Fields and that he's convinced that he's the guy, that he feels he has strong feelings about Chase Claypool and what his future is going to be on this team. Mm-hmm. Are you encouraged by what you ended up seeing by Justin at the end? And if you were going to recommend something for him until he got back into the working out, the lifting weight part of the offseason, what would you recommend him to study, look at, and become familiar with?
Yeah, I think for him, continue to work on his footwork. I think his anticipatory skills. I think he's processing information faster, but he even needs a more sense of urgency. The pocket passing game has to improve for the Chicago Bears. But, yeah, I'm encouraged. I think he's tough. I think he's smart. Certainly he's a terrific athlete. He's got the arm and the talent level and the skill sets to succeed in the NFL. And probably the best example to compare him to would be Zach Wilson, right? Zach Wilson lost his job for the New York Jets. Why? He basically lost the locker room. Right, he's got to earn the respect of his teammates to even get back in good graces for the New York Jets, who selected him number 2 overall. I don't think that's the case for Justin Fields. He truly is the face of a franchise. I really gain a lot of respect in those post-game press conferences and how he comes out and, how he conducts himself, how he explains, well, this is what I saw. You can tell he sees everything and he sees the field. I think he's open, he's honest, and I think that's why his teammates love him, and I think his teammates will play for him. But there's a difference in leadership. There's a difference in leadership with the number 2 overall selection of the New York Jets compared to the selection of the Chicago Bears.
Jeff Joniak, top there. Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio joining us right now on Bears All Access. We're brought to you by IGS Energy. Back to Kevin Warren. That is the big story here in town, and everybody on all the stations today talking about it, gauging where this will lead the Bears down the road. He'll be introduced officially on Tuesday at noon up at Hallis Hall, so a lot of stations will carry that live. We'll get to know Kevin Warren, who's been here in the Chicago area for the last 3 years with the Big Ten Conference. A major shout-out to my brother, Kevin Warren, on being named the president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. Amazing, my guy, exclamation point. Best of luck. Emojis, prayers. LeBron James, Big Jim. LeBron James on Twitter today.
Well, I mean, I like his Rolodex. I mean, he's hanging out with the bigwigs running elbows. And no, I just think he's well respected. Obviously, even for him being in Chicago, I heard, the last game he went in, talked to Justin Fields. Obviously, he dealt with Justin when Justin was at Ohio State. And, with the whole COVID issue and how they went about it to get the league to conduct the games. And, again, I think they had to think outside of the box because they kind of went once when a decision was made that they were not going to play, and then they said, hey, let's crank this up. We'll be able to do it. And so much like the NFL, you got to adapt, you got to adjust, and I think he did that during that time period. So I think he's greatly respected. Again, I think he thinks outside the box, and he big projects like that with in a league. Like when you look at the Big Ten and probably the SEC, which are leading in pro players, I mean, those to me are the two premier conferences right now. And he was the leader of one of them, and certainly guided it to a lot of success and expanded it to levels that's never been seen before. And so that takes a lot of communication. That takes a lot of leadership. It takes a lot of reaching out to people to, hey, how do we pull this off? Or what are we thinking about here? You got to basically cross every T, dot every I, and he's done that. And so hopefully he'll continue with the Chicago Bears.
And he sounds like a guy that's super resilient, all the way back to being an 11-year-old hit by a car, riding his bike, was in a full body cast for half of a year. Convinced his parents to use some of that settlement money to build a pool and got to be in the water and swim, get himself right. And they told him he wasn't ever going to be able to run. And here he played basketball as a Penn Quaker at the NCAA level. So there's so much more. I mean, reading his background and getting to know a little bit about him from just listening to other folks, Tom and Jim, just an incredible individual who, I saw an interview he did with Bryant Gumbel. And he talked about 1440. That's how many minutes are in a day, and you take advantage of every minute. So I think those are all encouraging things for what the future will bring, because it sounds like a guy who's never going to take no for an answer. Right, Jim?
Yeah. Well, I think it talks about his level of determination. Like you said, you go back, if he's 11 years old, I didn't even know about that accident that did happen that he had to overcome. One, he had a plan, and he was determined to do it. I think that says a lot about his character in his earlier years and how he's kind of built upon that to say, hey, there's not a lot of things that I can't overcome and that I can't do and that I can't achieve. And that mindset obviously was instilled pretty early in him. And so that is really good to know, because I think that's a trait not a lot of people have.
Jim, it'll be interesting to see what information, what experiences transfer from his Big Ten experience into a singular organization like the Chicago Bears. And I know that he has the experience that he did with the Minnesota Vikings, and there's kind of some similarities between that. But, you think of the growth and the potential of the Big Ten and the growth and the potential of a team like the Chicago Bears moving forward. It'll be interesting to see when you do get a chance to talk to him what information transferred from that Big Ten experience that's going to come up to the NFL level.
Well, I think the experience, one, being at the pro level before, one, to have the discussions with your general manager, with your head coach for, hey, the direction of the team and how it's got to be set and how you've got to go about things. And that's somewhat similar in the Big Ten, right? In the Big Ten and how things are now with the INL money and all that, they're basically becoming like NFL teams themselves, where there's somewhat of a salary cap. At least I hope it gets to that point. But, you're dealing with the sports information directors directly, and then, of course, you're dealing with the coaches and you're dealing with the players. And so I think he knows the type of tact, how you approach, players, coaches, SIDs, general managers, and how it works in the NFL. But yet, and will use his vast experiences from the NFL previously and anything else he has learned moving forward from the Big Ten, to the Bears' best interests, in my opinion. I think he will have a good relationship with the coach and the general manager all the way down to every last player in the building, every last person in the building, because that's what he was responsible for the Big Ten Network.
And carving out that big money deal with the networks for the Big Ten. That's a big number. Impressive indeed. And two of those powerhouse Pac-10 clubs, UCLA and USC, coming to the Big Ten Conference. Listen to earlier today an interview with the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, Paul Allen. They are very close, and some of the words I just wrote down, just meticulous, patient, efficient, trustworthy, just a few to describe Kevin Warren, the new president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. He'll start in the spring. We'll hear about him firsthand on Tuesday up at Hallissaw with the introductory news conference in front of reporters, and we will be very excited about hearing from Kevin Warren. That'll be noon on Tuesday. We're going to take a break. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Anthony Herron will join us with Tom Thayer and Jim Miller. I'm Jeff Joniak here on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score.
What do you call a group of friends decked out in orange and blue who hug and toast with Miller Lite after every great play and in between endless choruses of "Da Bears"? You call it Miller Time in Chicago. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2022 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Football legends weren't born making game-changing touchdowns. They started out like the rest of us, playing with the neighborhood kids. And while it wasn't the playground or the local field that made them great, those places did give them the opportunity to become great. Touchdown! At PNC, we believe every kid deserves a place to play and learn. Over the years, we've teamed up with the Chicago Bears to give the kids of Chicago learning resource centers that spark curiosity. PNC Bank and the Chicago Bears. Just one way we're making a difference. The PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
It's game time, but before Terry can enjoy his brat, he's got one last thing to digest, an impending work deadline. Luckily, CDW helps Terry and his team make big plays from anywhere, even the tailgate, by pre-configuring Lenovo ThinkPads with the Intel Evo platform. With business-class performance and effortless connectivity, Terry tosses over the files, and she's got them. Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. CDW, official technology solutions advisor of the Chicago Bears. Traveling to an away game to watch the Bears win big? Get ready to celebrate. Celebrated a little too much? Time to sleep in. Slept in and gonna miss that flight home? Time to change your flight without paying change fees thanks to United. So, when will you worry about getting back? Tomorrow? Maybe? United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears. Does not include basic economy unless a United waiver applies. Exceptions apply for certain international flights.
For Mercedes-Benz luxury and innovation, visit Chicagoland family-owned and operated Mercedes-Benz dealers for their incredible selection and service. From the all-new, all-electric EQS sedan to the exciting all-new C-Class sedan, experience the luxury and performance of Mercedes-Benz at your Chicagoland Mercedes-Benz dealers. Shop your Chicagoland Mercedes-Benz dealers now for outstanding offers on the entire Mercedes-Benz lineup. The Chicagoland family-owned and operated Mercedes-Benz dealers, a proud partner of the Chicago Bears.
Welcome back to Bears All Access. We're brought to you by IGS Energy. Choose clean energy for your home at IGS.com because every good choice adds up to a better world. Jeff and Tom with Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. All right, before we get to Anthony Herron at the bottom of the hour, let's delve in a little bit to the Bears. They are the center of the football universe, boys. They got the number one pick. They've got salary cap space, which is always a humorous thing because you want to still be very smart with that cash and how it's doled out and make sure you're signing the right players that fit what you want to do long term. It's not a short-term fix with these at this point, with this organization. Now, the short-term fix was in certain cases this year just to get through a season of injury and deals. You dealt a couple of players. So that was for this year. Now it's about, and I use these analogies about building a foundation that, of course, has been something that Matt Eberflus boys and Ryan Poles have talked about in great detail. But now you're starting to build out the frame. Pretty soon you're going to put a roof on before you start decorating this thing and, make this thing where you want to be, and they have a ways to go in that regard. But they do have assets, Jim. They've got assets. They've got the cash. They've got the draft picks, high picks in every round. And now you have a new leader coming in as well. So this is, in many regards, the center of the football universe. Jim?
Some teams go on the one side of the ball where they bring in free agents, whether that's offensively. That's, to me, I would try to focus on and bringing in veterans to work around Justin Fields where they can get it up and running. Obviously, Claypool is going to be a big part of that. And then draft the other side of the ball, which defensively I think they know. They pretty much hit on every guy. Defensively. I'm really excited about Brisker, excited about the young corner Gordon, where it can go from him. Michael Robinson still learning the position from that standpoint. Or, if they have to sign one or two free agents, we know last year they tried to target Larry Ogunjobi. I do think that's going to be a key component at the defensive tackle. You got to have a penetrating three technique. Now, whether they decide to do it all young, build one side strictly through the draft, and sign the veteran route with the free agents, and to me, I would identify the offensive side of the ball to do that, and it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. But I think they'll be able to do it all, guys, and we've seen it. Worst to first can happen. It's happened to Cincinnati. They went to the Super Bowl. They were fourth in the AFC North. They went to the Super Bowl last year. Look at Jacksonville right now. Worst to first in the AFC South. It definitely can happen.
One thing, Jeff, I was thinking, so the other day you had an interview with Matt Eberflus for Bears Game Day Live, and he talked about one thing they were able to accomplish this year was to build that foundation. And you asked him, hey, is there any walls being put up? Do you have studs? And I like the fact that he didn't exaggerate in saying that they've done more than they wanted to do. They were able to lay the foundation, and I think the foundation that we've got to see through the effort of the players and the way they go out and practice, I'm okay with it because he didn't over-exaggerate that they did more than they were able to do, but they did exactly what they wanted to do in that first year.
100%. And to Jim's point, half the playoff teams are new to the playoffs this season. It's always that case, right? From 2002 to 21, 97 teams finished the season with at least 12 losses. Next season, 15 won the division, 22 made the playoffs, 29 above 500. And then there was the other side of the coin. Still, teams trying to work out of their own trouble there with some double-digit losses. But, anything is possible in this National Football League. And a guy who played in it, along with Jim Miller, joins us now live. It's Anthony Herron, our good friend. And I can list everywhere you work, but it'd take up half the show, fella. But we're gonna talk Big Ten. We're going to talk Kevin Warren. How you doing, first of all? And obviously, all signs pointed to Kevin as the new president and CEO, and you're with the Big Ten Conference in one of your many jobs, and also on SiriusXM NFL Radio. What are your impressions?
Well, it's the one thing that I began to get a little bit worried about throughout this process is some of the initial Kevin Warren rumors and reports started to circulate over the past week or so. Was, man, if the Bears don't land Kevin Warren, then it's going to be hard to get another hire from someone with his resume, with his gravitas, with the excitement that would encircle it, and frankly, that would just seem as well suited, as fitting for the direction it seems like the franchise is looking to go here. And so it's a great thing for the Bears to be able to get that. And frankly, the Big Ten Conference is in a strong position regardless. And I'm sure whomever takes over as the next Big Ten commissioner will be excellent and will have a fabulous resume and everything else. But that being said, it's a loss for the Big Ten Conference when you look at some of the moves Kevin Warren has made here over the last calendar year plus to strengthen what was already, of course, one of the most formidable conferences in intercollegiate athletics, already the most consumed conference in that regard. And Kevin Warren, put these historic deals in place to put it on an even bigger plateau and expand the platform of the Big Ten. So credit to him for that. And I'll certainly be curious to hear from Kevin Warren once he begins addressing this more publicly. What were some of the things for him? Because you never know what ends up motivating an individual for what their pursuits are. And with kind of the world being his oyster at this point, to determine that it was time for him to go back to the National Football League, to go back to what feels like, maybe a little bit more insular in the focus that would go with being a team president and CEO, as opposed to a conference commissioner. And I'll be curious to hear from him just exactly, what went into that from his personal perspective.
Hey, Ant, when you think of what Kevin Warren has been able to accomplish in the Big Ten, when I was growing up as a kid in high school, there was 10 teams, and that's all you thought about. Now it's expanding. So will a new leader of the Big Ten, will they want to continue the possibility of expansion, or are they content with the amount of teams they have, or is it an open door policy?
I would guess it'll be more the latter, Tom, that maybe it'll be a bit of an open door policy. And what struck me from just the perspective of Kevin Warren making that move that you're kind of referencing, bringing in USC and UCLA, adding them to the Big Ten. The Big Ten has already been a 14-team league for a number of years here, right there on par with the Southeastern Conference. And the SEC, of course, has more on-the-field success in football than anyone else from a championship perspective. And then when the SEC went out and made a deal with Texas and Oklahoma to expand to a 16-team league, this was a couple of years ago, then the immediate assumption was that the Big Ten was going to follow suit and was going to go on par with the SEC. And then Kevin Warren and the Big Ten as a league didn't sort of jump into that deep end of the pool. There was one of Kevin Warren's favorite words is methodical. He likes to be very meticulous in the way that he goes about dealings, and he hadn't been commissioner for very long. And what strikes me, especially with the retrospect of looking at the couple of years he was commissioner, he was very quickly able to, from all that background he had in the National Football League, no real experience in intercollegiate athletics, but he was very quickly able to judge the temperature of the college landscape, of the Big Ten Conference. And when he added USC and UCLA, the thought was the more likely move for the Big Ten was the geographical end of maybe taking your alma mater, get Notre Dame in. All right, if Notre Dame's not coming, then they're probably going to go to the ACC and at least get something that feels a little more regional. The USC-UCLA thought, it came up, but it was more fantasy land. There was more of a thought that, man, that would be pie in the sky. How awesome would that be? There's no way that Kevin Warren and the Big Ten are going to be able to make that happen. But that'd be pretty cool if they did. And then lo and behold, this bombshell ends up dropping, and he adds that. And so for him to be able to, in a short time on the job, get the temperature of the college landscape, Big Ten had already been the most lucrative league for a while, and so they weren't in a position as a conference. He wasn't in a position as a commissioner where they had to expand. They still would have been at least the second most lucrative conference in intercollegiate athletics. And just sort of, undercover, he made the deal with USC, and UCLA was able to keep that quiet while everyone in the sports sphere was assuming the Big Ten was looking to do something. And where would expansion come from? He somehow, with him and those close to him, kept those dealings confidential. And then it came out that you're adding the LA market to the Big Ten, and very shortly thereafter, you get the biggest deal in college athletics history. I mean, that, just in a silo, let alone a lot of the other things he's done here, but just in a silo, that movement in such a short time on the job, I think is a really good look at how Kevin Warren is able to gauge where an industry sits and how does he best position as a guy who outwardly and, privately is someone who values relationships. And, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 worked together on some things over the years. So there's even the end of, to a certain extent, you could look at it as somewhat of a cutthroat maneuver, to take the one of the biggest brands in college sports in USC, grab UCLA with them. But he was willing to make that move because it was what suited the Big Ten. So this is a guy who has definitively that human side to him, while also at the same time can evaluate what is the best business dealing for the entity that I'm in charge of and be willing to pull the trigger on it.
And hello, Lincoln Riley. Welcome to the Big Ten. Well, Anthony, one thing what I respect about him, remember, you just go back to the COVID year and the Big Ten, they were leaning on not playing. It was Justin Fields kind of got the Ohio State, the players in the Big Ten involved. And it really was, I think, Kevin Warren and his relationship with the NFL struck a deal. NFL will do the testing. I think he was, like you used the word meticulous. I think he was thoughtful. I think he thought it well out. Say, hey, the NFL believes they can pull it off. Now I believe that we can pull it off. Now I've got the backing of the NFL to do the testing. yes, we're going to be able to pull this season off. And so I thought, his guidance through that was pretty phenomenal because, as we know, other conferences, historic black college, they had to cancel their seasons.
Right.
And certainly the NFL, or excuse me, the Big Ten was able to continue. But I think he had all the ducks in a row to say, yeah, we can get this done and we will move forward. And they reversed traction completely, but he went out and got the assurances that he needed to pull it off.
And I think that it's a great example, Jim, of the way that, and it's, when you're a senior executive, when you're an administrator in charge of young people, of teenagers, I mean, you want all athletes to have their health and safety as a priority, but obviously college athletes, as we've all discussed, I'm sure, to a large extent in various ways here in recent years, you don't have student athletes, certainly in the non-revenue sports, who are getting compensated, to any large degree here beyond having either full scholarship or partial scholarship, or maybe they're walk-ons, who knows? So the way he handled that during COVID, in knowing that, as, the presidents and chancellors and himself all get together around the Big Ten and make what ended up being a decision that was not very popular. And even in the short time he was on the job as Big Ten commissioner, at that point, he knew that was not going to be a popular decision when they decided initially to call off the season. But he did very quickly also point out that they're going to continue to collect information. They're going to continue to compile data and, of course, end up knowing that the SEC never backed off their position to play, but the Big Ten and the Pac-12 did. And so there were all different versions of how to handle this. And for his role as commissioner of the Big Ten, in a similar fashion to the Pac-12, you had the academic end of the campus life there's just more influential in the Big Ten than what some of the other conferences end up dealing with. Like you're talking about, Jim, where he ends up, as he collects information, he gets more medical data, gets more infrastructure in place for how to go about the testing that ended up being put in place. And you referenced Justin Fields. It's one of the things that I've kind of pointed out to people that has impressed me so much about him, when you have a quarterback who not only competed at the highest level in the Big Ten Conference at one of the major institutions and, Heisman Trophy finalist and, on the field, just his performance, what he did in making the college football playoff, national championship game. But during that moment in COVID, where he and his Ohio State teammates, after losing to Clemson the year before in 2019 in the college football playoff, their whole offseason was about playing again and making it back to the college football playoff and taking Clemson down yet again. And so Justin Fields, not only just in, off-season workouts and everything else, but then when the season gets taken away, he's on Good Morning America. He's doing interviews. He's communicating with athletes around the country, trying to figure out, how do we go about trying to get back to playing football in a safe manner? What is the information saying? How do we work with the Big Ten and make sure that we let it be known? We would like to play this sport. We believe infrastructure can be put in place for us to pursue this coming season in a safe manner. And it was never a thing where Justin Fields, as one of the leaders for student athletes, was, kind of calling out the Big Ten in some kind of negative manner, but he wanted it to be known, and he discussed it with like Michael Strahan and GMA for the world to watch, that he felt like it could take place in a safe manner, and he would be willing to trust the Big Ten and what system they put in place for that to happen. And he and Kevin Warren have communicated a number of times publicly and privately about those matters and beyond. And so it's just, they're both two, obviously separate age brackets and separate roles and responsibilities, but just two really impressive individuals who frankly have already been through something together back in 2020. And so I'm excited to see even just that end of him as Bears president with Justin Fields as his quarterback, and just the coming together of what they've already experienced in the past. To me, is just a pretty cool storyline.
Anthony Herron, our guest here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. This is Bears All Access. He's also a Score football expert, as well as helping us out on Fox 32 with Luke Canellis, along with the Big Ten. All right, we got a minute to go in this segment. Anthony, real quick, just if you could kind of crystallize, what does this announce about the Chicago Bears, the hiring of Kevin Warren? What does it mean?
That they are looking towards the future as a franchise. And, it's hard to encapsulate, I guess, the why of excitement with a team who only won 3 out of their 17 games this past season. but the arrow just seems to be pointing up in so many different ways for the Bears. I'm uber confident in what the growth potential will be for Justin Fields. As a quarterback, you add in having the number 1 overall pick and whether it's used or if they accumulate additional draft capital with it, but then also the potential for the move to Arlington Heights. And frankly, just the fact that you're bringing in someone to run the operations of the franchise, the president and CEO, who now for the first time has been hired from the outside. It strikes me as the leadership of the Bears, the McCaskey and the Hallis and the history of that family now saying we don't need to be so insular in our approach to running the organization, and their willingness to now modernize the approach. We saw it with a GM hire. We saw it now with the hire of the president. So there's a lot for the Bears where it seems that they're now, I guess, taking the approach of figuring out how do we go outside our comfort zone, to the statement that McCaskey put out there, and try to figure out the best way to move this franchise forward with all the rich potential that's there.
All right, a lot of it indeed, and we'll break it down. We'll enjoy it, won't we? We will enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you, fellas.
That is Anthony Herron, our guest.
Thanks,
we'll
Ann.
be back with Tom Thayer and Jim Miller. Jeff Joniak here, along with our producers, and we'll be back after this break on Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score.
Traveling to an away game to watch the Bears win big? Get ready to celebrate. Celebrated a little too much? Time to sleep in. Slept in and gonna miss that flight home? Time to change your flight without paying change fees thanks to United. So, when will you worry about getting back? Tomorrow? Maybe? United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears. Does not include basic economy unless a United waiver applies. Exceptions apply for certain international flights. It's game time, but before Terry can enjoy his brat, he's got one last thing to digest, an impending work deadline. Luckily, CDW helps Terry and his team make big plays from anywhere, even the tailgate, by pre-configuring Lenovo ThinkPads with the Intel Evo platform. With business class performance and effortless connectivity, Terry tosses over the files, and she's got them. Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. CDW, official technology solutions advisor of the Chicago Bears.
From bridges and trains to iconic high-rises, have you ever wondered who's powering Chicago? Unlike our sports heroes, they go unnoticed. Yet they proudly keep our businesses, homes, and great city running. IBEW Local 134 electricians and the electrical contractors have the experience, training, and reliability to keep Chicago open for business.
What do you call a group of friends decked out in orange and blue who hug and toast with Miller Lite after every great play and in between endless choruses of "Da Bears"? You call it Miller Time in Chicago. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2022 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
This isn't the start. Before I got here, I started training. And before that, I did something to my back. But my first move was Athletico Physical Therapy. That's where I'd eventually end up. So why not start there? I mean, my therapist immediately found the source of my pain. These are the same physical therapists who work with elite marathon runners. So soon, I was back to running, but without pain. You got this.
It all starts at Athletico. Schedule your free assessment at athletico.com.
This segment of Bears All Access is brought to you by CDW. People to get it. Tom Thayer, Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio. I'm Jeff Joniak, and earlier this week, Ryan Poles and I sat down before his news conference up at Hallis Hall. You're on the job. What'd you think of it, and what did you accomplish?
It was great. Just, reflecting back on the whole season, what I was proud about was just building this foundation that we set out to do. I think in the opening press conference, before the season, I talked about what does success look like if you put wins and losses over to the side for a second. And that was building a foundation. That was being disciplined. That was toughness. It was creating a family bond. And I know we accomplished that piece. And I think two things can be true. I think we can be disappointed in the wins and losses, and that's got to improve. We all know that. This building was hurting after those losses. But I know what we accomplished, and that it's a healthy organization that we can build off of.
Well, that opens the door right away then, because you also said you want to be a team that was going to run the ball.
Yep.
And head coach said the same thing, and lo and behold, you lead the league in rushing and set franchise records, and your quarterback nearly set one as well. How important is that even in the future?
Yeah, I think it's setting up your identity, right? It's that style of football in this division, in this city, is important. And again, if we can build off of that foundation of a run game, toughness, all the way through December, January, and then we can develop a pass game, in terms of just looking at the offense, we can do special things.
1-7 in one-score games, but that also tells you were in the fight for half of the season, right down, making teams go through the mud to try and beat you. How important was that given the massive change and you really didn't know what you're going to have week to week because of injury and whatever other reasons?
Yeah, it's important. I think one thing you look at is toughness and competitive attitude. I can't tell you how many phone calls I got from head coaches in the NFL, GMs that said, you can feel your team on tape. That meant a lot to me, again, in terms of setting up our future to build off of. The other piece is we have a young football team. I think we led the league in rookie snaps by almost 1,000 snaps. So that group, if they're knocking on the door, I'm hoping as we, create continuity, we can burst through and start winning those close games.
That's an amazing number, which I'm sure you never even thought would be possible. But
right.
You kept finding guys that were not overwhelmed by it. The
right.
moments were not too big. I think of Josh Blackwell. I think of Jalen Jones. I think of your rookies, Brisker and Gordon. I mean, we can talk about the ones that were drafted high to the ones that were undrafted.
I think that goes, it speaks volumes on our front office. We're looking for a specific mentality when we're bringing players into this building. How do they play the game? How are they wired? Do they love and are they passionate about football? And you could feel that. The other thing is just being relentless in player acquisition. Some of the trade backs in the draft that helped produce more players that I thought performed pretty well for us this year. But also through waivers and claims, those players that came in were able to perform for us, like a Josh Blackwell, who was, I thought, outstanding on special teams.
It was a staircase season for Justin Fields, your quarterback. There's no other way to put it.
Yep.
Where is he at and where is he going?
Yeah, he's in a good place, and we're proud of him. It is hard for a quarterback with transition, new offense, a new terminology, new players. I think the more chemistry he builds with his receivers, the more players we put around him, the more successful he's going to be. He's wired the right way. He's tough. He puts the time in. I'm excited to see him take that next step.
I think this is going to be a no-brainer for every year, but do you have an action plan for the line of scrimmage? And that includes both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I've talked about that before. Just setting the foundation, which is the lines, O-line and D-line. So we're going to always prioritize those groups. Obviously, the right players have to be in those groups and available to us. But I'm looking forward to continue to improve them.
You have assets. People keep writing about them. They have from the beginning projecting, and now the reality is you have the number one pick in the draft, which means you have high picks in every round of the draft. You have cap space. You clean that up. How active will you be, and what does that mean in the bigger picture from a franchise point of view, from a Ryan Poles point of view?
My point of view with that, and really for our entire organization, is flexibility. I think any general manager, any head coach in the NFL just wants flexibility, the ability to acquire more talent, the ability to move around, and really take advantage of opportunities that present themselves. So it was hard to go through this year, not winning a lot of games. But at the end of the day, again, I think we're in a really healthy place where we have maximum flexibility to improve our team.
And just because you have the money doesn't mean it's just going to be thrown out there. Kind of define what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I spoke about it a lot when I first got here. It's just sound decision making. Just because you have it, that doesn't mean you got to go crazy with it. You got to be sound. Does it fit your culture? Do the players fit your scheme? All of those things have to be in play. Are you following value? You don't want to go crazy and go overvalue everybody just because you have money. You want to be sound because we want to be flexible not only this year but also in the future.
All right, that's a portion of that interview with Ryan Poles, and it ended with fill in the blank. The 2023 Bears will be, and he simply said, Tom and Jim, winners. And so that's the positive attitude. I like the consistency of Ryan Poles and how he's looking at this after a year in and what the next phase is going to look like, Tommy.
Yeah, one thing that repeated word, foundation. And I do think that's something you have to look at, because I think the players get an understanding of what the coaches and management expect out of them if they want to keep their job or they want to stay in a competitive position. But I think the competitiveness is going to be even increased when they go to training camp next year. With the amount of free agent money and the draft choice position they're in, they're going to bring in guys that they're going to want to compete for starting jobs. And so there may be 4 to 6 guys in this team that are guaranteed starters for next year, but the rest of the jobs are up for grabs. And I think that is probably going to increase the interest in training camp next year for the Bears, more so than it did this year, because all of us that surround the team, we were not familiar with the coaching staff, the coaching style, and Ryan Poles and what everybody was going to try to accomplish.
Jim, in many respects, the word temptation comes to mind when you think about everything you have in these assets. And I've talked with Ryan about this. How do you, as you sit here and analyze football for a living now, after playing it, do you avoid the temptation of the overspend or the overdraft and just focus on value across the board?
Yeah, you can't be some drunken sailor out there, not targeting what you need correctly. There is a certain type of player I think the Bears are looking for. I think Eberflus has a good idea of the type of players that he wants to coach, and I think Ryan Poles has a married vision with his head coach to supply those type of players that the coach wants to coach. I love what he said about, other teams and GMs reached out to us and said, man, we felt your team's presence. I'll give you an example of games like that. New England. Go in there and beat New England pretty solidly after a 10-day rest. I thought the Philadelphia game, the Bears competed like crazy out there. I mean, they really did, and we're in a lot of games. And so you're looking for those type of players. And as for all those young players that played, that's money in the bank, man. That's an investment that those guys and those players can draw from that experience heading into next year, and new players are going to feel that of what the standard is by how these guys competed all year for the Bears this year and what is expected once you join this team. When Matty Eberflus says hits, and all the new players that come in this offseason, well, they don't know what hits is all about. Well, they're going to step on the field and they're going to realize it real quick of what that standard is. And so that's foundation, that's cultural, that's all the things that we're talking about, and I do think that they accomplished it, but they will be very targeted with how they approach this offseason.
One more segment to go. We'll take a look at our Super Wildcard Weekend from a perspective from Tom and Jim. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tyler Farangul is our producer tonight, and we'll be back with our final thoughts here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score.
You're one of the lucky ones. You were born a Bears fan. Your Sunday best is always blue and orange, and Sunday dinner is always eaten around a Pop tailgate. And now you're even luckier because with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, you can get special discounts on certain Bears merch and concessions. Show you're a Bears fan from the gear you wear to the card you carry. PNC Bank. Passion pays. For details on discounts and other offers, visit pnc.com/BearsCard. Visa is a registered trademark of Visa International Service Association and used under license. Copyright 2021 PNC Bank National Association, member FDIC.
Connie's Pizza has been Chicago's go-to pizza for over 50 years. Call 312-CONNIES with pizza options including classic Chicago deep dish, stuffed, thin crust, and our original Connie's Pan Pizza. Connie's is home to Chicago's pizza. Call 312-CONNIES and visit Connie's Pizza with a whole family in big groups. And visit before and after Chicago Bears games utilizing our shuttle buses to and from all home games. We're located just 6 minutes from the stadium and have enough parking for everyone. Connie's Pizza is your go-to pizza for Chicago pizza. Call 312-CONNIES and order today. Traveling to an away game to watch the Bears win big? Get ready to celebrate. Celebrated a little too much? Time to sleep in. Slept in and gonna miss that flight home? Time to change your flight without paying change fees thanks to United. So, when will you worry about getting back? Tomorrow? Maybe? United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears. Does not include basic economy unless a United waiver applies. Exceptions apply for certain international flights.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. So we designed the Ford trucks of the future for everyone. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 45 years straight. Made for performance and capability on and off-road. Because the trucks of the future aren't designed for a few. They're built for America. Ford F-Series. Drive one today. Based on 1977 to 2021 calendar year total sales.
It's game time, but before Terry can enjoy his brat, he's got one last thing to digest, an impending work deadline. Luckily, CDW helps Terry and his team make big plays from anywhere, even the tailgate, by pre-configuring Lenovo ThinkPads with the Intel Evo platform. With business class performance and effortless connectivity, Terry tosses over the files, and she's got them. Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. CDW, official technology solutions advisor of the Chicago Bears.
Calling all Bears fans, get the ultimate VIP fan package with Chicago Bears VIP. Secure a game ticket and appearance from Bears legends and more by visiting ChicagoBearsVIP.com. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer, remaining moments. Tuesday at noon. Jim and Tom, final seconds here. What do you want to hear from the new president of the Chicago Bears, president and CEO, Kevin Warren? Start with Jim.
Yeah, I just think of, again, I think what Anthony talked about, the future of this Bears, what he's seen, why he wanted to be a part of it, the challenges ahead, because I do think Anthony talked about it. I think the Bears have signified that, hey, they're moving forward and thinking of the future. They have thought outside the box to acquire, whether it's a new general manager, the coach that was targeted, and now a new president and CEO that is going to guide this team many years into the future, which is going to include a move that we all are aware of. And so that takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of outside the box thinking, and certainly is going to take a lot of work to accomplish, but yet remain at the task at hand, which is winning football games.
It's going to be a while before he gets here, but, you got to become familiar with the facility. He understands the NFL, and he understands what the Chicago Bears mean to the state of Illinois and the NFL as a whole. So I just look forward to Kevin get involved in getting to know the head coach, the GM, and, what's needed in this organization to get appointed in a division-winning championship.
All right, we only have 30 seconds. Jim, give me one thing that's going to happen in this wild card weekend.
There's going to be bad weather in San Francisco, so that game's a coin flip of a game, because that was only a one-score game, came down to the last possession. Seattle lost it, but I'm telling you, go look at the record of Pete Carroll against San Francisco, potentially the upset of the weekend. 6
incredible games from Brock Purdy. Tom, you got a thought on the weekend?
Yeah, just a couple of these young, inexperienced quarterbacks are going to get an opportunity to play in some of the biggest, most emotional games of the year and see how they affect their team or they don't affect their team.
That's going to do it for us. For Tom Thayer and Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, and our producers Jordan Tredup, Dan Barilli, and the Score Studios, Tyler Farangul. Thank you to our guest, Anthony Herron, as well. We'll talk to you next time. This is Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears All Access. Podcasts are available on ChicagoBears.com and on iTunes, or download the official Bears mobile app. Bears All Access has been brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Miller Lite.